Lydia-Anne back.
Kept worrying Lydia about him not being with us.
Yeah.
Through my travels between the UK and South Africa, there were a few times that I had to take
touching moment about Danny, the festival. He was the third and a very humble person.
This is for us.
And it's that humility about Daniel that will live long in my memory.
Yours is working.
I also found out that Daniel was a political activist.
Yeah. I need to drop this.
Spirit. To the family, friends, and acquaintances of Professor Daniel Plaatjies. Dearest Lydia, my heart is bleeding tears for your beloved.
Why can't I
He
do
was my
this?
kindred spirit, the brother that I never grew up with, but that I found later in life. I'm not South African, but have become an honorary compatriot and comrade through support of the apartheid struggles since I was a teenager. Over 40 years of being behind a legacy of promise, fight, spirit, determination, encouragement, and the list, Daniel, about feelings for each other. I want you and your daughters, family and friends, and everyone that knows Dan, and precious moments that we shared, that the track playing in the background embodies and epitomizes our relationship, which I.
Is that the output there? Is that what people are saying?
That. This. That's what they're saying.
There is some output of some sort, right?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we've got that.
Yeah, we have it.
Okay, let me just drop my headroom.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rene Matthijs, and on behalf of the Matthijs family, I wish to extend our heartfelt condolences to the entire Plaatjies family, in particular Lydia and our circle of friends. I fondly remember how in those days we frequently looked for a reason to socialize, and a mutual passion for jazz music, which was good reason for us to connect at least once a year in Johannesburg or Cape Town at a jazz festival. Many of his friends will agree that Daniel always had a unique ability to lift the spirit of a company. As they say, with Daniel around, there was never a dull moment. He will be remembered and a variety of other topics, not in a grandstanding way, but rather in an attempt to spur conversation and cross-pollination of ideas that could only enrich all participants to a discussion. He was proud of his humble beginnings and would always remind those who cared to listen, X is a ofa di pointiero. That is how we knew Daniel as a friend, not forgetting his known excellent achievements. His ease of interacting with people of all levels of society, ordinary people, as well as well-known personalities, was astounding. I personally recall one occasion when we attended the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival in Sandton together. We were seated in the venue in the second row from the front, waiting for Diane Reeves to perform, and no one seemed to occupy the seats in front of us. Then came a well-known political figure and his entourage, wanting to occupy the front row seats. I'm not so sure if the politician felt intimidated by Daniel's stature, but him and his followers unassumingly complied and went to look for seats elsewhere.
A few minutes later, former President Thabo Mbeki, Minister Aziz Pahad, and their entourage entered the venue and were seated in the front row. The scenario caused much amusement amongst us, and I had no doubt at the time that the politician mentioned earlier felt much indebted to Daniel for not allowing him to sit on those seats reserved for the former president. Together with our friends Renette and Yokshan, we had the privilege to stay at Daniel and Lydia's house in Cape Town when we attended the UWC reunion. Hospitality contributed to so many meaningful memories which Ruby and I will treasure forever. Daniel was a personality of note, and his memory will be forever etched in our minds. We pray that Lydia is lived. May his generous soul rest in eternal peace. Hamba kahle Nkonto. Thank you.
Daniel was love, and his love for music, while the technical guys take care of the sound. I want us to revisit that song. We might create a hall that Daniel will want us to have.
And by a new path, did I look this good? Everyone welcome to my funeral. The way I lived, it was amazing. In the body too. Risk is on me, risk is on me. Closer, now it's to my funeral. Wanna come me, I party too. In the party for me, I'd party too. Instead, you know I would pour one up, 'cause the way I lived, it was amazing. Welcome to my funeral. Everyone I know it'll be wasted. You know I would pour one up.
Lydia, the name would be Lydia-Anne
Daddy plays the ashtray. Baby starts to cry. The lady wants to know the reason why.
Daddy's just like Coltrane, baby's just like Miles, lady's just like heaven when she smiles. Lady wants to know, she wants to know the reason, got to know the reason why this man has got to go. This man is always leaving.
And consistently
Fontaine, and I think that's something to be so proud of. The fact that with education you can rise up above the streets of Kalksteenfontein that's associated with gangsterism and all that goes with it. And you can be a towering intellectual giant, a giant that comes from the Cape Flats, a giant that made a difference in the lives of so many. And there was a light side to Daniel, and there was the serious side. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the serious side, and that's Daniel, the public servant. And here, just two references. Daniel, you wrote about the future inheritance, building state capacity in a democratic South Africa. And you looked in it at the present architecture and performance of the state and assessed its institutional capacity to deliver on its mandate. That thesis that you argued is even more profound, even more critical at this point in time, because the strength of institutions is really what's going to be enduring to our democracy. The human capital is going to be important. So Daniel, that's why I think I have the right to say we're a bit, angry that you've been plucked away so soon, because this is such a necessary journey. You also reflected on it when you were interviewed as Director of Welfare and Social Security in the Treasury, when you addressed through your responses to, and I quote, an impact case study of civil society interventions on the child support grant in South Africa, close quotes. You there said that civil societies pushed government further, and I think that's not bad, the whole issue of larger social compacts. You did reflect, however, that we may not have had the required capacity or reflected on the budget sufficiently. And that's okay. That's okay. I mean, we may have differed on aspects thereof, but I think that's okay because that was Daniel. That was the disruptor. The last point I want to make is around the hashtag Stay Black, and that's what the family has made it. And your greeting, Stay Black. And I want to add a hashtag Be Black. And here I want to quote Frans Fanon in Black Skins and White Masks, where he said, and I quote, "Negrophobes exist. It's not the hatred of the Negro, however, that motivates them. They lack the courage for that. Or they've lost it. Hate is not inborn. It has to be constantly cultivated, to be brought into being, in conflict with more or less recognized guilt complexes," close quotes. I think we see too much of this in South Africa, parts of South Africa, and in the world. And this is in spite of the fact that we have a solid constitution and a freedom charter that suit you today. And we will look at Frans Fanon, but we'll also say, stay black. Farewell, Daniel. Farewell.
Whether Daniel Plaatjies will do the same, I don't know. He's written books. His
is certainly renowned as a researcher, as a professor, Professor Daniel Plaatjies.
Good day. I first met Daniel more than 20 years ago in Cape Town, but only got to know him when I started at SASA in 2007. We became colleagues and friends. I will share some memories of Daniel with you. I will focus on the memories working with him, as I know there'll be a lot of you that will talk as friends. So I'll talk about my experience with him at SASA. I joined SASA in 2007, and in that year, due to the nature of the work we did, I think I spent more time with Daniel than with my wife. It turned out we lived near each other, and living in Joburg and commuting to Pretoria, we created a sort of lift club. It would be he would either pick me up or I would pick him up, and the routine would be I would arrive and he would insist on us having coffee. This meant that our work and discussion started there. And these discussions would proceed from the time we started. I think as a SASA employee, as a colleague, as a friend, I think we can all say that we were glad to have worked with him and he left a legacy. As the cliche of what Albert Einstein said, the value of the man should be seen in what he gives, not what he's able to receive. And Daniel, as a friend, as a colleague, he gave more than he received. He was a good manager, a good boss, and to many of us, he became a good friend. I was one of those that I think he became a good friend. He was always prepared to listen, give you opportunity, often reminding you he's from Bonteheerville. I used to say he's robust, and when you deal with him, you have to be just as robust and resilient. Otherwise, you won't cope. The work discussions would be serious, formidable, and substantial, and I think that's what made us stronger and better. At times, as you all know, this robustness would come out and you'd hear his voice. Despite all of this, though, he made each of us stronger. He made us better, and I think he made the agency better. He took his work seriously, and his insights were deep and knowledgeable, and that's what made us stronger and more knowledgeable and capable at work. He fitted his position at SASA perfectly. A strategic thinker, visionary, brilliant, innovative, creative, but also empathetic, sympathetic. I'm just grateful to have known him, and through him the rest of the Plaatjies family, Lydia, Daniel, Lydia-Anne. Lastly, Lydia and the family, our deepest sympathy. We will be greatly missed, and I know we all are saddened by his death.
Iva Sarakinski from the Wits School of Governance. In 2008, Daniel joined the school, and for some strange reason, he in command. And for some strange reason, I'm still not sure why, I accepted. And it's a tough job. It's dealing with quality control, timetabling, lecture slots. And the problem is that conflict is a part of every aspect of that position. And Daniel came into his own in dealing with all the conflict that flowed out of all the issues that had to be dealt with in terms of managing the acts, facilitated those conversations, and nudged the parties to come to the center, to reach an agreement, to find a way forward. And that was an incredible skill that he had in terms of helping people find a middle path and to drop their initial positions in terms of making things work. At meetings, high stakes, tense gatherings, Daniel would use humor and anecdotes to diffuse situations and lower the intensity of the issues that were always up for discussion. One thing that sticks with me from the time that Daniel was head of school was that he always backed his team. He always stood by the people who he worked with and who worked with him in managing the school. After we had all gone our separate ways, Daniel and I kept contact. We exchanged emails. We met a few times. We discussed issues around governance. I edited or commented on articles for books that he was working on, and was excited about a new project that he was embarking upon in terms of promoting governance more broadly in society through public discussion. What's really important for me in terms of my meeting Daniel at the school and getting to know him well is that he showed faith in me and he gave me the opportunity to develop as a manager, as an administrator, and not just to confine my activities in the school to teaching, learning, and supervision and writing. If it wasn't for Daniel, I would have remained a boring and dull and pure academic. And I'm grateful that he gave me the opportunity to develop those other skills. In fact, since Daniel, 2 times, with my second stint coming to an end in December this year. So his contribution has continued through the school in empowering people to manage the school as well. And for that, I'm grateful to Daniel being part of the school. My very, very deep condolences to Lydia, Daniel, Lydia-Anne, and Leandre on their very, very sad and unexpected loss. We will all miss Daniel.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Freddy Arendse. Daniel and I were neighbors. Hy van die Kalksteenfontein, Bontewil en ek van Bishop Lewis. And we met in 1985 and we joined the Jazz Society at UWC. And I don't know, during lockdown in May, June, he called me and he sent me a clip. I don't know whether he wanted to perform at the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, but he sent me a clip of him singing and he wanted me to put some music to it and some of the other Joy of Jazz, UWC jazz band guys of yesteryear, exactly 35 years ago. And then I didn't have the time because it was just a crazy time. And so today, We will try to put this thing together. So please bear with us. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun. Thank you.
Kunjia, milele, milele. These are the words I say when I want you near to me. From the place deep in my heart, you'll see I'm never far away. Any place, any time. When you reach out for my love, I'll be there. I'll be there for you, baby. I'll be there for you. When you're falling, I'll be there for you, baby. Let me love you when the world's too hard to bear and you need a helping hand. I'll be there, the one to help you understand. If you are too far away, Zambia or Monterey, I'll be there, the one to wash your tears away. I'll be there for you, baby. I'll be there for you when you're falling. I'll be there for you, baby. Let me love you.
Oh, thanks so much, Freddie. That was, I was just telling Mantua now that just gave a new dimension to that. I'd heard Daniel singing that song earlier, and it just, yeah, it was haunting for me. And now it's like, well, I heard it without seeing him, and just heard his voice, and yeah, that was great. Okay, so the next group of people who would like to pay tribute to Daniel are Bongi. As a family friend with the girls Mairi and Bonolo, who are Daniel and Lydia's godchildren, and that will be followed by a pre-recording of Daniel's Angels. Oh, okay. Oh, they'll come up. Bongi. Yeah, come have some respite from the sun over here.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I wrote this speech. I didn't want to lose track of what I wanted to say. It's actually taken me a while to write this. I had a very hard time coming up with the words to express how difficult and significant the loss of Daniel is. I think with talking to Lydia-Anne, being with a family in Cape Town, I finally understood the brief when she said that we're celebrating his life, and it's a remarkable life. And fortunately for me, the words came to finally and fully celebrate Dimana, as Lydia and I would call him. Daniel was a genuine and considerate friend. He didn't just sympathize when I faced troubles. He always gave useful advice and real practical help, and was always honest. He wasn't going to sell you fairy stories about anything. He didn't wield his many professional and academic achievements over you. He would share his knowledge and expertise generously and bring you with him in a discussion and really listen to what you had to say. And he really put up with a lot of nonsense from me. The running discussion was why I did not finish my master's and go into postgraduate studies. Lydia would make a noise for me. Nikki would make a noise for me. Going to visit, it was always like, oh my God. And then I would say to Daniel, you know what? The thing is, you're a single professor. I think if you make it a double professor, maybe then I can go into like studying and completing my master's, and he would just tolerate that level of nonsense from me. Daniel was a loving and committed father to his 3 girls. They adored him, and they adore him still. Daniel was a godfather to my 2 girls, Myri and Bonolo. And on that gray and cold Joburg Sunday morning, when Lydia told me that Daniel had passed on, I'd had to tell the girls what's happened. And they said, "But who's going to call us Pupal now?" That was their nickname for each other. Daniel and the Plaatjies family, I really thank you for your care and consideration towards my children. I spent a lot of time with the Plaatjies family in their various homes over the years. When they were still in Joburg after work, I wouldn't go to my own flat, and I would at times spend the whole weekend with them. Lydia would say to me, "But what are you rushing home to, Bongi? You're single. There's no man calling you. Just come here." They were loud and affectionate with each other, and Daniel and Lydia would always flirt. I would complain that they can't be doing this lovey-dovey in front of me, as I was too young or too single, or it was too early in the morning to be witnessing such. It was always hard to leave their presence. Their home was and is always welcoming, loud, funny, kind, sweet, and warm, plus there's always lots of food. I celebrate Daniel's care and love for his family, and I am grateful for the privilege of having gotten to know him. Rest well, Prof. Myri, Bonolo, and I will never forget you. It will take time to come to terms with the loss of Dimana. But what will also take time and will lessen the pain is going through the many memories of a life fully lived. So long, Daniel.
Hi, my name is Eloise, and how I met Daniel, I think for me, meeting and being around Lydia and Daniel is inextricably linked. It tended to always kind of be together, even if it started with maybe Lydia and I having a visit somewhere, somehow. It would involve Daniel. But back to the beginning, I was young. Yeah, I was very young. I moved to Johannesburg, and I found myself in Westdene. And there's this thing that happens with, Black like me people from the Cape. When you get to Gauteng, you tend to, I don't know how it works, I don't know, but there's this magical force that tends to have you connect with other Black like me people from the Cape, which is amazing because there's just similarities in how we grew up and the experience of the new environment in Gauteng. Anyway, so in Westdene, I ended up living 2 doors away from Lydia and Daniel before they moved to Linden. And I think we briefly met, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm happy to be corrected. We met and and then they moved to Linden and we kind of lost touch, and then we got back together. Gosh, a lot of the past is a blur for me because so much happened. Anyway, so Daniel, I reconnected with him in the house in Linden. I still drive past that house, although they've moved to Cape Town years ago. Do you know, around about the time Daniel was studying for his PhD, I would start frequenting their house because their house was just amazing. This amazing, safe and warm space where I would, pop in there after gym or something, or on the way from a dance class or whatever. Pop in there for a hello. There was either food already ready to eat, or we'd start making food. Oh, love Lydia for that. And so hours later, Daniel would come home or would come out of the study or something, and we'd chat and update what's going on. And like the thing is, he never wanted to leave their house. For me, the magnetic attraction of that house was the safety, the realness, just didn't have to have a mask on, didn't have to pretend, didn't have to look a certain way, be a certain way, be a certain economic state, have economic status, none of that. Such an amazing, grounded, earthing, real home to be in. So hours later, I would go home. And a thing that happened a lot with Daniel is we'd be chatting very animatedly and loudly, really. I don't know how to speak quietly. And then he would come and go, guys, where's the white noise, man? Come on, you can't be this loud. A lot of tongue-in-cheek, a lot of matter-of-factness from Daniel. And like one of my visual memories of him is wherever at his home, or in my house or whatever, he'd arrive and he'd sit and literally within seconds just lounge and relax. That I'm going to remember. But something quite recent that sticks out in this last few weeks. By the way, I'm still expecting somebody to call me and say this was a massively bad joke. I know it's not going to happen. I know it's real because I see the notifications, I see the messages. I'm doing a video, but a part of me, anyway. So, end of 2019, I was finding myself in Cape Town over Christmas, unusually so. I never really go to Cape Town over Christmas. And incidentally, I'm from Montague, Lydia is from Robertson, so we grew up half an hour apart, and I don't think I ever met her there. I think we met in Gauteng, which is quite crazy, but be that as may, best thing that could have happened. And so we were trying to find a way, how do we get to Montague to go say hi to my mom, because I hadn't seen her physically in a while. On the way back from shops, pop in at Lydia and them, while I was trying to arrange a ride, and just briefly mentioned it without blinking. She went, yeah, let's go. I'll take you. And we went. I was like, you sure? She was like, yeah. Slept over there so we could leave really early in the morning. And I think it was a Sunday. We left on the 30th or 31st of December. We left. Had a lovely day, visited my mom on the way back, popped in at Hammer there in Robertson. I'd lick up peaches, and then we get stuck 10 k's outside of Worcester. And as God would have it, friends of theirs drove by, Erica and her husband. They were camping in Swellendam with their kids, and they were driving in the opposite direction and saw us driving very slowly, and then stopping and turn around to come say, check if we're okay. Found out we're not, stayed with us. They had a double cab bakkie, so we were trying to figure out how we're going to do this. It is a Sunday on the platteland, not a lot of tow trucks, so we were waiting for a tow truck to come from Perel, I think. We're waiting and waiting. Hot day, but uneventful nonetheless. And finally we decided, okay, cool, we're going to tow her car with their bakkie into Worcester, so that we're not outside of Worcester, we're in Worcester. And also, obviously just a more central, safe-ish place. And we get there, we put the car down, waiting for the tow truck, and I up and down to the shop to get water and cool drinks and the like, and trying to figure out if we're going to eat something. It was quite hot. Guys, all of a sudden we hear this boop boop, and very nonchalant, as Daniel could only do, he drives in with his car and parks and gets out and goes, yeah, what's going on? What's happening? Show me. Now, obviously Lydia did let him know I was there, called him what's happening. But just picture this, my husband and I and the kid, our baby, with Lydia. And then Erica and her family in the other car. So Lydia was not alone. We were there. We were expecting help to come. The tow truck was coming. It'll forever be etched in my memory. He must have dropped everything. And he drove from Cape Town to come fetch her. After 20 plus years of marriage, she's okay, she's strong, we're there, she's not alone. She's not in grave danger. Yes, the car got stuck and couldn't drive. And we were going to make a plan. We were going to get in the bucky with Erica and them, and the kids were going to go in the back, and we would be fine. He still dropped everything. Probably broke some speed records. Got some speeding fines. I hope not too many. And he was there. Like that. That's going to stay with me for a while. It was such a beautiful demonstration of what it is like and what it looks like to be a partner and what it is like practically. That's what Daniel did. Daniel was very practical from what a lot of fun too, a lot of tongue-in-cheek, a lot of, if you didn't know him, you'd get offended, but spoke the truth. But above all, I just watched him be such an amazing father to their 2 daughters and a wonderful husband to Lydia. I watched him. And he let us watch him. Rest in power, Daniel. We love you.
Hello everyone. My name is Charlotte Delahop and I am a close friend of the Plaatjies family. It feels so surreal to be doing this as I just can't wrap my head around it. When Lydia asked me to make this recording, I wondered how can I Lydia and Daniel. Daniel is Lydia and Lydia is Daniel. They became 2 of my closest friends when I just arrived in Johannesburg, and we clicked instantly. We joked that I was his second wife, and Lydia and I worked out a plan on how this tripartite marriage would work, as he always said we were crazy with how we always bullied him. Daniel was a very caring, loving, and amazing husband, father and friend, and always present, even from afar. He cared and loved his family and those close to him. I love him for being that caring person, even when he was being an unreasonable bully. He was the most frustrating man at times when he was trying to bully or convince me of something. I fondly remember the Linden house in Roosevelt that was home to so many of us. The amazing parties or just the pop-ins to chill, relax and chat. I met them at such a party during my first few months in Johannesburg, and they made me feel welcome instantly. Lydia was the welcomer, and Daniel the interrogator. I have so many fond memories that I will share with you. Lydia and Angie and I used to have this Friday after work thing where we would all meet up at the house and drink all of Daniel's whiskey and Amstel beers. The green bottles, because it was a tough and hectic week, so we needed to relax. He always complained, but he kept buying and we kept drinking it. He would get frustrated with us, nag us about why we could not replace his drinks. Our response was that it is his duty as our husband to provide our beer and whiskey. He tried on numerous occasions to get us to buy our own and leave his stash alone, but it never worked, and he never gave up trying to convince us otherwise, and we just never stopped drinking. Daniel had this thing about his coffee and constantly tried to train me how to make his coffee, and I insisted that it was not my duty as the second wife, but Lydia's. I don't think I can ever remember any praise given when, after years of intense training, that he actually complimented me on my coffee skills when I finally got it right. That's Daniel for you. When Daniel and Lydia were still living in Johannesburg and Lydia fell ill and landed in hospital for tests, Daniel could not fetch her from the hospital as he was stuck in Pretoria and called me to instruct me to fetch her right away. Like right now, not in an hour, but now. That was Daniel for you. He expected you to jump when he called. Daniel and Lydia helped me through a very tough period in my life in 2005. They were my lifeline as they had experienced the same pain, and that solidified our friendship. We became family and not just friends. Our kids grew up together, and Daniel adopted Shauna as his fourth daughter and would always fight with me when I was in conflict with Shauna about something or other. He would always take her side. Shauna could do no wrong in his eyes. Even when he was giving Lydia a tough time about what she wants to do in life, he would do the same to her that I would do to Shauna. He'd be like, nope, that is not going to work for him. I would roll my eyes and tell him what a hypocrite he was. Poor Lydia-Anne. But never poor Shauna. Daniel had an amazing smile that would reach his eyes, and when he was up to something or trying to convince you to do something, he would give you that smile. He had a light side and a very serious side to him. And you knew when you were getting the serious side, trouble. I remember this one time when, for some reason, Lydia and the girls were in the Free State and Daniel was in Johannesburg. I got a call from Lydia saying Daniel is not in a good mood and that I need to do my wifely duties and arrange a night out to cheer him up. So I called our friend Ricky and other friends for a night out. Needless to say, Daniel was hard work that night. He was just not his usual self. He could party, but that day he landed up babysitting me. He was not impressed with me and continued to give me grief about it. I mean, really, how was that my fault? I tried. Daniel's always tried to interrogate me about my life and what I'm doing and why I'm not around, especially when I was in hiding from the world. Trust me, Daniel would find me and rock up and interrogate me. He tried the whole "who are you dating?" and I made the mistake of introducing a partner to him once. And trust me, I learned my lesson as I had no peace after that. According to Daniel, no one was ever good enough for me. Luckily for him, I don't date so much, so I saved myself from a lot of interrogation. Thank God for that. When he had not heard from me or seen me, he would always ask Lydia about how I was doing. When he could not get a satisfactory answer from her, he would hunt me down so I could stand before the court of Daniel and explain myself. I fondly remember about 2 years ago when I was in hiding and he stalked me for weeks. He told me that he was going to Pretoria for work and that he is coming for a visit, and I had no choice in the matter as he is concerned about me. So in true Daniel style, he rocked up and positioned himself on the couch as he used to, with his feet crossed and his arms on his chest with fingers intertwined, and a look on his face that told you that this was going to be a long night of interrogation. I tried getting help from Lydia by taking a picture of him in his position and sending her a message to say help. Needless to say, no help was forthcoming. Daniel adored my mother and used to encourage her in her naughtiness. You could never say anything ill of his Auntie Joanna, and I was always cast as the villain when I complained about both my mother and daughter, driving me crazy. A few years back, Daniel was the MC at my mom's 80th birthday, and you would swear the world would come to an end if everything did not run smoothly according to Daniel. He wanted everything to go well for the people he deeply cared for. Daniel, Lydia, and the kids shared many a milestone back when he sent some links for me to listen to, and I shared an article I had written. His feedback was, "Great work, Choma." He then wanted to know where I am, and I told him before I fly home, I would visit and do a nice catch-up. His last words to me was, "I miss you too. You will always be in my heart, Daniel, and will be sorely missed. Who will bully me now?" Shauna and Auntie Johanna is sad that they're not able to say goodbye in person, but they will always love you and hold you dear in their hearts. Be well, my friend, my husband, and say hello to Shay Daniel Plaatjies, Mia Craig de la Harp, Ricky van der Berg, Charles January, and Joni Smith. May you rest in peace. I miss you.
Having to make this video is my third take, of course. I have to acknowledge that you're not here anymore, Daniel Plaatjies, and yeah, we just is tough, is verschrikkelijk tough. Ik denk meer zo voor jou familie as voor mij, but me and my brother, man, we come quite a long way. Van jou groen sunny van tot jou zwart van. Ja, ik kan jou 40 was een van die bezorgde. Allemaal gaan vroeg huis toe en ik en jij is op het einde van die dag alleen daar zo. En die studenten lands aanmaken, geraas en ons party is klaar en je besluit misschien moet ons oor die muur klim en die leer gebruik en dan die party toe gaan. En Lydia spijt jou net terwyl jy hoog op die muur that we could laugh about like a sense of black humor. As die dag ons kleer kry. You know, so I'm gonna miss you. And I love you. Yeah.
So I can't remember.
Hi everyone, I'm Angie Kaplianis, and this is my first ever WhatsApp voice note. I couldn't think of a more fitting occasion for this first ever. I don't normally do these kind of things, speak at memorials or funerals, because I generally chunk like a baby. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm unable to hide my feelings and emotions. What you see is what you get and who I am. But I'm going to try and do this because Lydia-Anne asked me. For Daniel, and for the girls, Leandre, Danelle, and Lydia-Anne. I think I've known Daniel since the turn of the century, from the late 1990s going into the 2000s. That's around about 20 years or so. I don't remember exactly when, where, or how we met, but it was definitely through Lydia when she was still working with our SABC News research team, and we've always got on like a house on fire. His home became my home in at least two ways. In late 2004, just after my dad had died of leukemia, I bought the Plaatjies house in Westdene here in Joburg. And 15 years later, I still stay there with my mom and our two boxers, Mika and Lexi. Sidebar. Daniel loved my mom, or Lourdes, as he always referred to her in his attempt at Portuguese, although she's English-speaking like me. And some of those typical Daniel African shirts, well, Mom made them, just for him. I've planted the seed as to what Lydia should do with Daniel's clothes, including his trademark shirts, because that's a necessary ritual in the rite of passage following death, and in the creation of loving memory. But back to Daniel's home, my home. The Plaatjies Roosevelt Park house was my home away from home. After work on Friday afternoons, early evenings, I'd rock up there, park on the couch, have a drink or two. Daniel even bought me my own bottle of gin that nobody was allowed to touch in the fridge. Lydia always cooked for us and fed us so well. And then with very loud surround sound. That's how we would de-stress from the week for the weekend. I still miss our Fridays. More often than not, Daniel and Lydia would pass out on the couch, snore loudly, and leave me to watch the movie on my own. That's how comfortable we were with each other. Again, he honored me by telling others I was their huisvriend, and by that he meant so much more than the literal definition. The first Daniel memory that comes to mind is how he used to call me the enemy of the state. For a journalist, a public radio journalist of over 3 decades, that was and still is a badge of honor. And the reason he did that is because I was hypercritical of the ANC, always asking lots and lots of tough questions about what the former liberator was doing, or rather not doing, in government and as the state, for all the country's citizens and residents, but especially for the poor and the neglected. I touched many raw nerves because the Daniel I knew then was blindly loyal to the party, and I know why. The ANC gave Daniel a ticket out of the poverty of Bonteheuwel and everything that it was deliberately designed by the apartheid government to do. But he never forgot where he came from. Likewise, he never allowed it to define him. And I'll come to #StayBlack later. The ANC became Daniel's home, and more than just a political home. It gave him so many opportunities which he took with open hands and made the most of. But he never abused those opportunities or the access that they gave him. And whatever he got, whatever he worked generous to a fault. So what do friends do? They decide one Sunday morning they feel like Kusisters. Not those lacquer ones from Mayfair or Fordsburg, but our very own homemade ones. Oh, what a disaster. Our Kusisters tasted like sunlight dishwash liquid. I don't know what we did wrong or whether someone deliberately poured sunlight into our batter, but we vowed never again, and we were never trusted in the kitchen. That was Lydia's domain. Talking about words, Daniel thought I was his personal dictionary. He drove me crazy making up words that didn't exist, that were opaque or vague. In the middle of the night, he'd phone and ask, "Angie, what's that word again? The one that means to cut your oxygen supply." And I'd say, "Do you mean asphyxiate?" Keep it simple, I'd say. He even got me to sub his doctoral thesis, and I remember telling him, "Daniel, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. I don't understand what you're trying to say. Your sentences are way too long. Remember, stick to one idea in one sentence, or one thought, one sentence." Well, I didn't last very long as his sub. We were much better as friends. I still can't believe that I and we will never see Daniel again. When I woke up on Sunday morning, the 11th of October, I looked at my phone like I usually do, and there was this WhatsApp message from Lydia at 5:26. Matter of fact, "Morning, Angie. Daniel passed away last night." I thought I was dreaming. I turned around and went back to sleep. But when I woke up again, Lydia's message was still there. And still I didn't want to believe what she was saying. I was shocked, heartbroken, and I just cried. Monday morning, I woke up suddenly at 4 o'clock, and I was crying again. I'd been crying in my sleep. I don't know how this was supposed to happen, but it wasn't supposed to happen like this. Not this year with COVID, and not now. It's not often that you find so many dates that connect people, bind friends like us and families like ours, inexplicably. Oh, Daniel would love that word. Daniel was born on the 21st of May. That's the same date as my dad and my youngest brother's name day, actual of August. We were in their, now my Westdene home, making and drinking glühwein. Daniel died on my youngest brother's birthday, the 10th of October. And today, Daniel's last memorial is my mom's 76th birthday. You go figure what all of this means. All of you and all of us are so much more than the apartheid color of our skin. And maybe I'm missing something or I'm out of sync, but I would want to believe that we are #BeHuman and #StayReal. Daniel, thank you for absolutely everything. I'll miss you and everything about you. But watch over us, look after us, especially your girls, Lydia, Leandre, Danelle, and Lydia-Anne. Love you lots.
My name is Stephen Porter.
The life given us by nature is short, but the memory of a life well spent is eternal. This is a poem I found, but what interested me in it was the second part, because Uncle Daniel spent his life well, and I will never forget him. I loved how you could always have reasonable arguments, and this taught me always to speak up and argue a point. Uncle Daniel was not only a friend to my family, but he was family. He used to always call my brother Raul instead of Ruiz. And as much as we told him it was Ruiz, he would still call him Raul. Eventually we gave up, but now even Lydia-Anne called him Raul. Uncle Daniel will always stay in my heart and will always be an inspiration to me. Gone, but never forgotten.
Hello, Lydia. Thank you for asking me to say something. I'm so sorry I can't be there with you. I'm still coming to terms with Daniel not being around the next time I come to visit you. I really miss the two of you together. The love, the mutual admiration, the support, the jokes, the fights about random things, discussions about everything, TV, politics, happiness, joy, sadness. I'm really grateful for Daniel's generosity, his time, his kindness, and especially with my mom. Can't forget that time we came to yours for dinner, and Daniel came back from work quite late and still sat chatting with my mom until the early hours of the morning about everything. I'm really going to miss him, and I hope that, yeah, his legacy will last for a long time, and I can't wait to see you and give you a big hug. Thank you.
Hello, it's me again. I was going to play some Michael Frank's a medley because Daniel used to sing those songs, Lady Wants to Know. But then one of the previous speakers mentioned the song Oh Danny Boy, and I thought maybe that would be more relevant. So I'm going to try that. I hope you enjoy that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Uncle Freddie. Have you ever spoken to somebody on email and you kick the desk and jump around the office because this man wants things to be done right? He owns and runs a music school in Tshwane. It's called the Tshwane School of Music. If he wants you to bring Bob James to that school, you can't say, Uncle Freddie, Bob James just landed this morning and he's quite tired. No, Mantua, I want Bob James for my kids. Thank you for the good work. Now, on the lighter side, we've listened to all the beautiful messages that Daniel's angels sent, friends, colleagues. Baby, you need to love me like Daniel loves Lydia too. I'm begging. I mean, they just said Daniel is Lydia, Lydia is Daniel. How cool is that? Let me be you and please be me. To every gentleman in this house or in this place, this man that we are celebrating, I think taught us, even the ladies, how to love. I want to be you, you be me. When we get home, we're going to sign that memorandum of understanding.
I'm Vion Bok. Like most of us.
Work life, Daniel's story through the eyes of George Hill, Neil Cole, Vion Bok, and Stephen Porter.
Hi, I'm Vion Bok. Like most of us, on Sunday, October the 11th, we woke up to the very sad news that our good friend Daniel had passed away suddenly. We have heard so many testimonies of the full and impactful life of Daniel. He packed a lot into his life. Academic excellence, co-authored books, traveled extensively, made a significant contribution in service to the Republic, and lately as chairman of the Financial and Fiscal Commission of South Africa. He took good care of his family and was an all-round nice guy. And above all, even as he soared so high, he never forgot his humble Bonteheuwel roots. I will miss our chats, chiding of each other, deep mutual respect, and our love for jazz. Last year, he and I spent a lot of time together at the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival, as we did for the past number of years. Little did we know that would be his last. For Daniel, I say this prayer. God, full of mercy, who dwells in the heights, provides a sure rest upon the divine presence wings, within the range of the holy, pure and glorious, whose shining resemble the skies, to the soul of Daniel Plaatjies. For charity was given to the memory of his soul. Therefore, the Master of Mercy will protect him forever from behind the hiding of his wings, and will tie his soul with the rope of life. The everlasting is his heritage, and he shall rest peacefully upon his lying place. And let us say Amen. Like Whitman, we say, the powerful play goes on, and may we contribute a verse. Our prayers are with Lydia and his daughters, all of whom he was immensely proud. And to them I dedicate the poem by Beernacht, Blessing by the Irish poet John O'Donoghue. On the day when the weight deadens on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. And when your eyes freeze behind the grey window and the ghost of loss gets into you, may a flock of colors, indigo, red, green, and azure blue, come to awaken in you a meadow of delight. When the canvas frays in the currach of thought and the stain of the ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so may a slow wind work these words of love around you, an invisible cloak to mind your life. Thank you.
Having to make this video is my third take, of course.
Daniel's passing still feels very unreal today. It had not been more than 2 weeks prior, particularly about the position that he was being interviewed for as the director of the Parliamentary Budget Office. These conversations was part of Daniel's extensive prep, just sort of thinking through what are the critical issues facing the responsibility that a director of the Parliamentary Budget Office would have. I watched the interview where Daniel answered the questions that were thrown at him by the parliamentarians in a way that demonstrated his very deep understanding of the country's challenges, the policy priorities, and the spending plans that our country needed to undertake. The call that I got from Lydia-Anne a couple of Sundays ago to let me know that Daniel had passed was therefore not the call that I was expecting. What I was expecting was a call from Daniel to say that he got the job as director of the Parliamentary Budget Office. His passing therefore leaves a personal gap that will be hard to fill. More so in the case of his loving family, Lydia, Leandra, Danielle, and Lydia-Anne. His passing also leaves a gap in our policy and intellectual discourse. And it leaves, or should I say, it robs the Parliamentary Budget Office of what I believe would have been an excellent candidate for the position as director. His passing leaves a gap in the body of South Africans that have this let's get it done attitude. And Daniel certainly led many of us with this let's get it done attitude. He had a deep sense of wanting to bring about meaningful change in the lives of South Africans. And I think this is what we're going to miss. We're going to miss those calls from him where he has an idea and he wants the idea to be unpacked for all the intellectual aspects of the idea to be uncovered, and then more importantly, non-governmental organizations. And this is certainly what I'm going to miss the most. I want to wish my compatriot, my friend, my fellow perpetual scholar, Ambagashle, you will be missed, Daniel.
My name is Stephen Porter, and I met Daniel at a social event at his house, which could have been Lydia's 40th birthday. And I met Daniel through my now wife, Siobhan Erasmus. What I remember most about Daniel is his endless energy, his ability to work between government and community, and how he knew how to bring others along to help with really inspirational ventures. His endless energy, I always saw that whenever I went around the house, he'd be there working, developing a new idea, thinking about how to make South Africa a better place, challenging those around him to also develop ideas and get them down on paper and to join him on his projects. He also knew how to operate within government and at various levels of the state, having worked in the Gauteng Department of Health, National Treasury, SASSA, the Free State. The list goes on. And in doing that, he never lost sight of where he'd come from or the challenges that people face. And he always spoke to me about how he drew upon his life in Bondeville. And working with him, I realised how he knew how to bring others along. And that's especially true of how he worked with me. That he gave me opportunities to develop projects with the World Bank that really helped to found my career. And that he is always open to new ideas. And that although he had part of the answers or part of the idea, he was always willing to listen and to try new things out. And throughout the rest of my life, I'm always going to remember Daniel for these things in helping to shape my career, in how he always maintained sight of where he'd come from, and that endless energy for education, for improvement, for change. These are inspirations to us all. And things that my wife and I will always love him and the rest of the Plaatjies family for.
The life given us by nature is short, but the memory of a life well spent
So I can't remember the exact time and place I met Daniel and Lydia. What I do remember, though, is that in our early years in Johannesburg, in the late 90s, early 2000s, as young journalists, they created a safe space for us away from home. They were among a group of friends that were slightly older than us, that was settled, and they allowed us in their homes, and they sort of took us under their wing. They created a familiarity and a place where we could express ourselves and where we could gather on weekends, and just sort of let our guard down, let our hair down. A place where we could debate and engage with our political mentors, which they were as they were older, because they come from a generation of activists that were engaged in struggle and in activism in the early to mid 80s, where we were engaged in struggle and activism in the late 80s only. And we had such deep admiration for them. They created a place where we could engage about where we come from and where we were going as a country. A place where politics lived very close to life, a place where politics and life lived side by side, and where we were reminded that we must live hard and struggle hard, as it was far from over, as we were only in a transition phase. Daniel never suffered fools, and he would take you on, always in a robust and well thought through fashion. Sy moet jou story agter mekaar gehad het vir hom, So whatever the hypotheses were that you would put on the table, you had to ensure, that you had enough fact and factual reasoning to back it up, But even though in many ways intellectually he was superior, he was kind, and he would never let his intellect sort of overshadow you or displace you or make you feel as if your opinion was worthless. But sometimes, let's just say that with him it was good to know when to walk away from an argument or any form of discourse for that matter. Some believe that death is not for the departed, but for those of us that are left behind, to stand still for a moment and to reflect, on memory and the memory of the person. And what is life but a construct of moments and experiences etched in our minds? These memories become fluid and pliable as the years add and subtract what it wishes to remember and how it wants to remember. Today, like many have over the last few weeks, we remember Daniel. We speak of him fondly and kindly and remember the impact he has had on all of us, on this country and this continent. We all experienced him differently, but with many similarities also, and in what was perhaps his strength and beauty, that he was the same and different to all of us. And to Lydia and the girls, I want to say, from my wife and I, my family and I, our deepest condolences. While these words do not linger like a kiss or an embrace, we pray that these words will comfort you, that the tributes to Daniel will embrace you, and that you know that you are not alone, that you have all of us, and that you have the memory of him eternally.
Okay, so I think we all have been we're very well aware of Daniel's intellectual prowess and his PhD, of course, him being Professor Daniel Plaatjies, which gave us all, I think, great pride. Last year, Daniel decided to do another PhD. And reflecting on that, we've got Professor Hugh Corder and Pierre de Vos, who are sharing with us Daniel's journey with respect to that.
One of the immense privileges of being a teacher of any sort, including a university lecture, is your interaction with remarkable people who come before you as students or colleagues. My career as a professor of law stretches back 35 years or so, and about a year and a half ago, I hesitated when I was approached by Dr. Daniel Plaatjies to ask me to supervise his second PhD. Retirement beckons. However, I was delighted to meet Daniel Plaatjies. We met at Michael's restaurant in Rondebosch 19. During that meeting, I got a sense of the man Daniel, both as a scholar, primarily as a scholar, when he described the fascinating set of proposals which he wanted to investigate and write up for his PhD at UCT. But I'm much more than that. I got a sense of Daniel as a public servant, a servant of the people, who had dedicated his life since the end of apartheid to the service of the development of the South African economy through his role with the Financial and Fiscal Commission. Of course, in accepting a student, one needs to find supervisors, and I was enormously pleased when both Professors Pierre de Vos and Judge Dennis Davis agreed to co-supervise with me, and I look forward to 3 to 4 years of remarkable learning from Daniel, because that is what one also, as a teacher, benefits from. One learns from the skills, the knowledge, the experiences, and the insights of one's students, especially students like Daniel Plaatjies, who hardly qualified as a student, but who brought remarkable insights and experiences to the thesis writing enterprise. We met again in January this year and had interaction in the course of the year, and he was very close to submitting his final proposal for his PhD for approval by the faculty when the absolutely awful news of his sudden passing reached me. I'm honored and privileged to have this opportunity to pay tribute to Daniel to the extent to which I knew him. He did mention a little bit of his struggle past during the 70s and 80s to me when we met, So I have a sense of the much wider role which he has played and would have continued to play. And it is a tragedy that we now stand at the moment of recognition of the departure of this scholar and great son of South Africa. Thank you.
The first time I met Daniel Plaatjies was at a book launch for the book that he edited, Protecting the Inheritance. And so when last year he walked into my office and said he wanted to do another PhD, I was a little bit surprised because he already had a PhD. He has edited several books. And I joked with him and said that he must be quite mad to do another PhD, because for most of us doing one was enough. But then when we started talking, it became clear that he really wanted to do it because he wanted to learn more. A humble person who thought that he could learn more, that he wanted to learn more, and that he had the ability to do so. So it was quite a shock to hear of his untimely passing. He had just embarked on the beginning of the PhD project. Of course, it was on accountability, one of the topics that he has been engaged with and has written about in other contexts. So it was extremely sad to hear of Daniel's untimely passing away. It is really a pity, more than a pity, that South Africans will not have the benefit of the PhD. And those of us who are going to work with him as his supervisors will not have the benefit of working with him and learning also from him. So my condolences go to the family on this very difficult day.
Hi everybody.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to just take this opportunity to play one of Daniel's favorite songs. It is a rendition by Al Jarreau of the famous Dave Brubeck song called Take 5. But what I want to do is I'd like Daniel to introduce the song himself. So, take it away.
Just an itch, the worst.
We're just gonna play a snippet of the song.
Just stop and take a little time out with me. Well, just take 5, just take 5. Just stop your busy day and take the time out to see that I'm alive, I'm alive. Although I'm going out on my way just so I can pass by each day, not a single word do we say. It's a pantomime and out of time, still I know all eyes are for me. I feel tingles down to my feet when your smile gets much too discreet to send me on my way. Now wouldn't it be better not to be so polite? Well, you could offer a light. Just start a little conversation now, it's alright when you take it by. Take a little time out with me, baby, take 5. You stop your busy day and take the time out to see, girl, that I'm live. Oh, I'm going out of my way just so I can pass by each day. Not a single word do we say. It's a pantomime, not a time. Still, I know my lines are for me. I feel tingles down to my feet. When you're smiling, much too discreet, instead of me gone away. Wouldn't it be better not to be so polite? Princess, tell mama, you know that you could offer me a light. Start a little conversation now, it's alright. Will you, David?
In the past week, when I was talking to Lydia, I always listen to music. I could be having a flu. I always have that song that picks me up. I was listening to Gregory Porter's In Heaven, and he says, in heaven, that's where you'll see me, my love, not on earth with its trouble and cares. In heaven, that's where you'll see me, my love, not on the earth with its toils and snare. So don't go running into the mountains, my love, because you know that I won't be there. And don't go running into hillsides, my love. Just lift your head, look up, and say a prayer. Now, this song felt so befitting for Daniel because he is an angel.
Oh my God, you're 82 years old. That's 8 decades. And the 5th of the 9th, that's tomorrow. You must have a great happy birthday and all the best to you. And I'm going to try this one. Birthday, you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, getreide Magdalena. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Let me increase the tempo quickly. Gosh, how am I going to get this right? Almost. Yes. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, oh my Kitty. Happy birthday to you. You're a great grandmother. You're a great grandmother. You're a grandmother that I like. Happy birthday to you. May God bless you. May God bless you. Yes, God. Oh, always. When I received the request.
So this was Daniel wishing his mother-in-law a happy birthday.
When I received the request to present today to you, I was hesitant to recalcitrant because I don't like the sweetheart conversations and the politics of politics conversations about local government. The citizens don't eat politics, especially those that's lived in poverty and experience daily the ravages of apartheid and inequality. This conversation that I'm going to have with you is more than that. It is about what you, us, and them as municipalities has not been doing. We, as the FFC, SALGA, who are you guys in this meeting, the National Treasury, the Demarcation Board, And the most useless of them all, the local government, CETA. We have singularly and jointly failed local government as an institution of state.
Good day. I'm met.
Guys, we're coming to the end of the. Hey, you know, Lydia warned about this formality business. She asked us not to be formal, and sorry, Lydia. Yeah, feel like it's been. But anyway, most critically, I think the people who have enjoyed the greatest privilege and who, yes, and who Daniel was most privileged to spend time with, Daniel's real angels. Can we ask you to come forward and just say a few words, maybe? Lydia, Leandre, Daniel, Lydian. No, for sure.
Hello. On behalf of the family, we would like to say thank you to our Cape Town family and friends, our Robertson family and friends, our Johannesburg family and friends, friends and family from various parts of the world who spoke today and at all of the other memorials. The Fortain family, Ntombi, Auntie Lovetta, the Mokhale family, especially Auntie Bongi, the Van Heerden family, the Kun family and the Felix family, Kharu Davids, Lionel Fisher, Leon. I'll just say. Yeah. We spoke at the first memorial/celebration in Cape Town, and I think after that experience, it was a bit traumatic for us. So we've opted to not really say anything, but we wanted to extend our gratitude to everyone, and just gratitude, and also I know you mean well, but okay. And so I would expect you all to implore that part of yourself to do that. But yeah, no, thank you everyone, and we're wishing you a joyful rest of 2020.
So I'll just, as Daniel's favorite daughter, just reiterate what the others had said. Thank you to everyone, my friends and family back in Cape Town, colleagues, my family in Joburg, the Mabuthas. Thank you very much. I don't want to mention any names, but thank you. And another thank you to my dad, Daniel. Thank you for introducing us to all these people. And sorry, guys, for introducing us to all of you. He's introduced me to some of the greatest people, some of the nicest people, people who have become family, best friends. Thank you. Stay black. Stay black.
I think it's important that I tell you about the quote on our T-shirts. So about 3-4 weeks ago, Daniel was invited to speak to the bishops of the different Anglican churches at some conference. And he said to me, Lydia, I will keep my doors slightly ajar, and I want you to listen to my presentation. So he did his presentation to all of these bishops, and then they started to ask him questions. And then in the middle of all of it, somebody asked him a question, and he went on to say, they've got a snowball chance. And then he realized he can't say hell. And then he said, in a bucket of water. And that was Daniel's last famous quote of one of his presentations. And that's why we've put it on the teeth. Stay black. Thank you. Moment with us. Okay.
Ons gaan net 'n baie kortlikse candlelight seremonie hê in ter nagedagtenis van Daniel se lewe. Julle ken almal die koortjie This Little Light of Mine, I'm going to make it shine. En ons gaan elkeen op sy eie manier 'n mooi storie. And even a light in our own hearts. The light of energy, the energy. Remember, energy is all we need in life. Whether it is in our hearts and our souls, in the relationships, in nature, in the ground. The energy of Daniel Plaatjies is with us and in us. And so is that energy in each one of us. Lydia's gonna, that lady will would light Lydia's candle, and she would pass the light within her, the light of Daniel, to her daughters. My daughters will just read 2 short poems. The first one would be, just a minute, Lydia, on my count. And so the first part would be for Daniel.
Though we cannot see you with outward eyes, we know our soul's gaze is upon your face, smiling back at us from within everything, to which we bring our best refinement.
To come home to yourself. May all that is unforgiven in you be released. May your fears yield their deepest tranquilities. May all that is unlived in you blossom into a future graced with love.
Ek is die een wat baie kan praat, alhoewel ek praat baie. Nou Daniel en ek het 'n baie anders verhouding gehad. En Lydia het gesê ek moet iets sê om op die skerm te kom. Maar ek voel ek het klaar my screen time met Daniel gehad. So ek wou nie op 'n skerm kom nie. En dit wat ek en Daniel gedeel het, ek wil dit nie met niemand deel nie. Ek is selfsugtig soos dit. En ek wil baie graag net 'n song sing. Want ek en Daniel altyd baie saam gesing as hy Lydia sing vals. Dan sê sy, julle ken nie die woorde nie. En swaan, maar as 'n mens baie whisky in jou lyf het, dan ken jy al die woorde, né? So ons het al die woorde geken. So I want to sing a song. If you know the words, join in. Moet net nie try om harder as ek te sing, want ek wil hê Daniel moet vir my hoor. Okay. All right, and it goes like this. And I never thought I'd feel this way. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm glad I've got the chance to say that I do believe well, then close your eyes and feel today. Ons ken nie die woorde nie, né? And then if you can remember, keep smiling, keep shining, knowing you can always count on me. For sure, that's what friends are for. In good times and bad times, I'll be on your side forevermore. Daniel Plaatjies, that's what friends are for. Oh, and da 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 na 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 na. Okay, is nou klaar. That's as far as I'm going with the song, guys. And then I just want to say, Daniel, my brother, you are older than me. Do you still feel the scars of the... There, oh yeah, you rise out high. And you see more than I. Nog kan ek al die woorde ken. Daniel, you're a star in the sky. Okay. Daniel is traveling tonight on a plane. I can see the red tail lights heading for Spain. Oh, and okay. God, it looks like Daniel must be the scars in my eyes. I love Daniel. I always used to call him Chay. My pik swat broer, maar just my broer. And I loved him. God, I loved him unconditionally. Rest in forever peace, Daniel, but you will forever be in my heart. I will forever try and take care of your wife and your children. Ek het nie baie geld, so dit gaan nie geld wees nie. But I've got a lot of love. I've got loads and buckets of loads of love. And Lydia and your daughters, that's what I'll always give you. My ears, my love, my hugs, a part of me. And that's what I think Daniel would want me to do. Thanks.
Whew. The first song that was played had words that say, have a jol on me and I have whiskey on my tab. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you've had whiskey on his tab. And thank you so much for coming and spending this day with this beautiful family. As we asked to pack up, I don't know if you can pack and dance, but I can. So we need to be going home because the place is closing. So listen to the good music that is going to be played, but let's get ready to go home. Further celebrate Daniel. Have that bottle of whiskey on his name, and I think you'll be forgiven. Thank you.
This one dedicated to the girl with the angel face and the devil heart. You know, so ragamuffin checker, the most new plan players come to deal with the case. Step up, my youth, hear this.
I know this little girl, her name is Maxine. Her beauty's like a bunch of roses. If I ever tell you about Maxine, you older say I don't know what I know, but murder she wrote.
Real, real.
Murder she wrote. Murder she wrote. Murder she wrote.
Action with him, a pretty face and bad character. Them the kind of living can hold chaka. Follow me. I face it pretty, but your character dirty. Girl, you just a act too flirty, flirty. You run to Tom Dick and also hurry. And when you find your mistake, you talk about you sorry, sorry, sorry. Come now.
Have a cozy kind of way she jokes and way she jam. She know about Luke like an every morning man. Make love with a coolie Chinese, white man and Indian. The wickedest kind of girl that Mr. Flyers go up and now do you heard about this girl? Her name is Maxine. Her beauty's like a bunch of roses. And if I ever tell you about Maxine, you would say I don't know what I know, but murder she wrote.
Murder Richard, man.
Murder she wrote. Murder she wrote. Na na na. Murder she wrote.
Watch and now stand still. You not pay me like bill. If you test a ragamuffin, tell you why and get killed, girl keep wait. Cause you a crebe, crebe. And the lyrics when me talk, it me DJ, girl come out. Because you nah shock out the things straight, make you angry. From me, you pretty face and bad character. Them the kind of living can hold chaka. From me, you pretty face and bad character. Them the kind of living can hold chaka. Say girl you pretty, you face it pretty, but your character dirty.